Welcome to the Quick Stop F1 podcast. My name is Mario, and you could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate it. This is the Saturday show where we're going to go through the Belgian Grand Prix, both the sprint qualifying, not both, the sprint qualifying, the sprint shootout, and the qualifying. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed to the Quick Stop F1 channel. But if you're not, make sure you like the video before you go do that. On whichever podcast platform you're listening to, make sure to download the episode and then download the other podcast app that you're not using and make sure to download the episode there as well. We also have a Patreon with ad-free content, exclusive access to merch sales. And remember the new tier we have where you can invite Nyasha to weddings. But the caveat is it must be during a race weekend. No, we haven't talked to Nyasha about it, but I'm sure he's fine with it. Don't worry. With me, as always,
oh, Lord.
Tyler, the creator, asks her if it would be okay to go by T, just in case Tasha wasn't planning on using it. She already has an ever-growing list of text messages where I am completely incorrect in every prediction that I make during a race weekend. Please don't ever show those.
I won't.
Both
Promise.
Tasha and Chris, which is our editor who's in the back trying to make me look good. Tasha does that for herself. Are the type to share music. And I just think that's a really cool thing to do.
That is really cool.
Those type of people are always great vibes. So without further ado, the most essential member of this podcast, it is Tasha.
Hola, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. I mean, we talked about this a little bit earlier. I'm also exhausted, so...
Yeah,
I feel like I'm having a slight out-of-body experience. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So
and then I told you, and you ignored it. So many delays. You had an extra 2 hours you could have gotten with all these delays.
I know. But the thing is, like, you go to sleep when you're feeling like this, you don't wake back up. So there was no telling what.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
I'll wake up in a whole different dimension.
And then wake up to like 20 texts from me.
And like, oh shit, we're supposed to do a podcast today. Yeah.
Hi, are we doing the thing today? Let me know.
Guess not. Yeah.
So like I mentioned, this is a Saturday show. So it is a race weekend. So we've got a lot to talk about with regards to all these formats that we have. But before that, we did want to mention a couple of things. Little tidbits that are happening, unfolding right in front of our eyes.
Yeah.
I think I'm pretty sure about this. We all got a heads up at the same time that the Alpine people got a heads up.
Right.
I think they all found out.
We all learned on Twitter at the same time that they're fired.
They got right. That's how it was, right? Because that's how it seemed it was.
Right.
Like they were busy doing their practice thing, and then the tweet came out. I'm thinking that's how it played out.
Yeah, they said effective immediately after this Grand Prix. So that's kind of wild to basically be out of a job on Monday.
It's
insane.
It's heavy how this happens in front of everybody.
Yeah. But I mean, I feel like the team definitely needs to be like shaken up. So, on the one hand, it's like sucks to see people lose their job, but also should have been doing your job better. So, there's that.
Let's see how well Gasly and Ocon can do at being team principal.
Yeah,
because
as the final two employees of Alpine.
A week from now, they're going to have to do the pit stops and be team principal.
Exactly.
Good luck to them.
Good luck to that. Yeah, exactly. I also read that the planned tire blanket ban for next year has actually been postponed. So they're going to basically for 2024, the tire blankets are back, and then they're going to maybe revisit this in 2025. So I'm kind of happy about that. I feel like they need the tire blankets. So, it's just kind of funny that, they were really adamant about it happening in 2024. And now they're like, well, maybe we should take a little bit of a step back and revisit this at a later date.
They're using that postpone word very loosely.
Yeah.
I think postpone is going to be like, yo, we got to talk about this in 2024, but we're still really against this. So don't worry.
Right.
Don't worry about it. But I don't know. I think that's a cool technology, and I see the point of it.
Blankets,
and exactly.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on how many? Do we call it a laundry list? Do we call it a grocery list? Do we call it like the new patch update? Like, what do we call?
I call it the upgrade that was promised. This is what we were supposed to get at Silverstone that we finally now are getting at Spa. Okay. So this is the Mercedes upgrade list. It's just 4 things, but they're pretty major. So we got new side pod inlets, Coke engine cover, floor body and
not related
rear
to
wing,
the soda.
not the or the drugs. So yes.
Hey,
imagine
this
that?
mind,
Yeah.
this mind, no drugs in his mind.
Exactly.
Not at all.
Dare really did a number on you. Me too.
By
Just
the way,
say
if
no.
anybody,
Yeah.
I would really like a Dare shirt.
Me
I've
too.
thought about this before. I think that Dare shirt goes hard today.
Do they come in adult sizes though? Because I feel like they only make them for like elementary school kids. Like, do they come in a size that would like?
I don't want to. I want to live in Schrodinger's like Dare shirt world where I don't have to think. I don't want to confront that reality of like maybe finding the shirt, but not in my.
We'll get you a medium.
Yes. Thank you. That'd be great. Thank you.
Oh my God.
So we talked about this before the show, and I'm not gonna go super into it because I don't know that anybody else brings this specific topic much up. But I was surprised because I don't watch a lot, but I'm very familiar with like Twitch streaming, YouTube streaming, etc. And the point of this is that we saw during the weekend the poster that Alfa Romeo came out with, very Minecraft really related, cool. A lot of very, very video game related. And I just want to mention, because this is like cross pollination between like two interests of mine. So the reason they have that livery is because of Kick, right? So Kick is a company owned by Stake, and then Kick is basically the place to go for online gambling, and online gambling is only permitted on that website. So Twitch doesn't allow it, YouTube doesn't allow it. So it's been blowing up, but there's this very impressive thing where a Twitch streamer called XQC, he's from Canada. This is what happened like a month ago. He got a contract from Kick to stream on Kick, and he got $50 million for 2 years. And I'm sorry, $100 million for 2 years. So he is literally paid on a yearly basis more than LeBron James. That alone is shocking and tells you like that Stake and Kick money is good. Like that bag is deep.
Clearly,
but then, not only the livery, but then this random streamer that maybe nobody, like maybe
I've never heard
almost anybody knows in this world. This random streamer has his name on the halo of Alfa Romeo cars, and that blows my mind because that level of marketing for this guy,
wild.
like the power is insane.
I didn't even notice that it was on the halo. I just saw the Kick
on the halo. So whenever they show you an onboard of any Alfa Romeo driver, you can literally always see the name of 3 streamers, and XQC is one of them. That kind of marketing is
people have so much money these days. Like these athletes are getting crazy money thrown at them, and like streamers. Like it's just insane to me to think of like I just picked the wrong career. Like.
I think
damn it.
I think we did.
And
we're just a little too late. We're just a little too... hate to see it. Unless somebody wants to throw the bag at us for streaming, in which case, the door's always open.
Yeah. Invite is always, it's always extended.
Another thing that might be less relevant than that Stake and Kick thing is that Max Verstappen is going to have a 5-place penalty for a new gearbox this weekend. Which I heard him say during somebody asked him about how worried he was about the penalty, and his answer was, I started from 14th last year. Damn. That went okay. Yeah. And that's just undeniable, and I hate it.
I mean, what else is there to say? The man knows. He's like, I'm coming, so you can put me last, you can put me in the 4th place. It doesn't really matter. Like either way, I'm winning this race.
It doesn't.
So. Spoiler alert for Sunday. Sorry.
He does what he does.
Yeah.
I don't get it. But anyways, we got a lot to talk about today.
Oh my gosh. So much.
Anything else before we go into our quali and spring quali and quali of the other thing and the other one and
No, I think let's get into it. Like you said, we have a lot to go over, so let's
great idea. But before that, for those of you listening on any podcast app, we really appreciate you listening. Just wanted to let you know that the YouTube comments is a great place to give out your opinion, answer any questions that we have during the podcast. And just to let you know as well, we've got some pretty great visuals during the YouTube episode.
Shout out Chris.
Chris, yeah, I was about to say Chris added a very cool ticker where you're gonna see as we talk about each session, you're gonna see who made it out and their times. And whenever we talk about certain like articles or we talk about certain things, there's gonna be pictures up. So just encouraging you all to join us on YouTube if you want. You know, remember to subscribe. Those of you that do already, thank you very much, and we hope you stay with us. Like I mentioned, we're going to go on to a quick ad, and we'll go into all these different events that happened. Thank you very much for being with us. And we are back. So Tasha had because I keep telling you people, like, she is the essential. She has a very good idea of starting with what we saw today, meaning the shootout and the sprint. That way we can end the podcast on the qualifying because that's what's relevant for tomorrow specifically. So with that said, I just want to prepare everybody real quick. I need to say this. You all are very lucky that I'm here because I actually have a ton of experience with regards to this track.
Do you?
One might say I have hours of practice on F1 2022.
Nice.
And I just want to say, as a fellow driver that has raced this Belgium GP, I'm very impressed on how these drivers handle that final chicane because that's the toughie. That's the toughie, you know. All drivers say this. I do too. But I just really wanted to let everyone know that I'm excited to be here because the analysis that I'm going to bring to this episode, because of all my experience as a driver, just like these drivers, I think is going to really come in handy.
Where's your $50 million bag? You know what I mean?
I'm working on it.
Okay.
I'm working on it. Yeah,
let's
I'm working on it. You know, the pen didn't work one time. I didn't have the
details are being ironed out. I feel like you're going to sign yours before Lewis Hamilton signs his contract extension. So,
I hope that's not. I hope that's not true for
Fingers
everybody's
crossed,
sake. So let's talk a little bit about sprint shootout.
Yeah.
I think one thing that we should mention that's probably been relevant all the time: this weather
sucks.
It does.
Spa.
It really does.
There. Oh my God, the weather sucks.
Crazy idea. Change the date. Crazy idea.
Who picked? I'm sorry. My only thing is like, who picked Spa of all the tracks that we visit? Who picked this for a sprint race weekend? Like, what sense does that make? Almost every year, one of the sessions gets rained out. So it's like if they, like for example, for Friday, if Friday got rained out and nobody could qualify, they were just going to use a championship order to set the grid.
So I hate it. Reverse it at least. Reverse it.
I don't know. Yeah, but anyway, I digress.
You know who makes those decisions?
Who?
The cowards that won't hire us to fix this shit. Okay,
right? We have ideas.
Those are the people making these decisions.
Come on, guys. It's not that hard.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's get into the shootout.
Talk to me about SQ1. Talk to me.
Yeah. So, I mean, like you said, the weather was a big factor. It had stopped raining just long enough basically for the track to get a little less soaked, but still pretty wet. So everybody started on inters.
During the session, real quick, we lost Yuki Tsunoda, we lost Valtteri, we lost Kevin Magnussen, Yo Guan Yu, and Nico Hulkenberg. I always forget to do that. I always interrupt you, and I always say sorry, Mike.
It's no worries. I mean, this was these are really short sessions anyway, so not that much happened because with, Spa and with these inters, like these laps take about 2 minutes. So you've only got 8 minutes to start with or 10 minutes to start with. So doing 2 laps eats really a lot into your time. So it's a lot. So you don't really see that many laps from each of the drivers. But that being said, some stuff did happen. So I was just kind of noticing the leaderboard, and you had Hamilton, Piastri, Leclerc kind of early on took the leaderboard. And again, Piastri for me is somebody kind of keeping an eye on. He's been very consistent in the McLaren since they've had those upgrades, and it's just been up ever since for him. So keeping an eye on him. We had the fast Ferraris. They look really good in the session. I said Albon had pace from somewhere. We kind of didn't see that in the quali that we'll talk about later, but today, I feel like they had some pace. Yeah. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And what about you? Did you have any interesting stuff that happened to you from this session that stood out?
Logan Sargent made it to SQ2, and that was very surprising.
Good for him. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not even happy. I'm not even.
He's the one rookie. I mean, left on the. He's got to start doing something. So yeah, I guess that's gold star for you.
You think he's asking Oscar to maybe slow it down a little bit?
He's like, bro, you're making all the rest of us look bad. So yeah, I do.
What do you mean the rest of us?
I mean, he's like the last one
the rest
left.
Of him?
Right, just him. Oh yeah, I guess because there's no other rookie besides him.
That's what I mean.
I mean, I guess if you take Danny Rick.
No.
But yeah, so yeah, he's the last one on the grid with like no points, no nothing. So yeah. Anyway.
Only thing that saves him is that the McLaren is looking really good compared to.
It looks really good, but it's also just the fact that Oscar has, he's not floundering it. I mean, you look at Stroll, who's in a good car, who's been here for a couple more seasons than Oscar, and like, you know what I mean? Skill level. So I feel like the car is good, but Piastri is also living up to that potential. So
the dude was asked later about how confident he felt during certain times.
I saw that.
And he literally, oh man, do you remember the name of the person of the car, James? Because he drove, his answer was when he was asked, he drove somebody's 2016 car and he basically made a reference to having big balls. And I was like, Oscar,
he doesn't talk that much, but when he does, are
you my favorite now? What are you doing? It's impressive. This kid is.
Yeah, it's really impressive. Anyway.
No, but like I just, the only thing that surprised me about SQ1 was that Logan did make it to SQ2, which is, it's good for him.
Yeah. We also
what do you have? Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, my last thing for this was about George. This quality session wasn't really on for him, so he barely got through. He survived by 900ths of a second, and he had basically a big lockup, and he aborted his final lap. And I mean, basically, he was lucky that nobody else was able, just one other person, was able to knock him out. So he survives round one of the shootout. And that's
all we're going to talk about George Russell this episode. Nothing else.
And then we get to shootout session number 2. Yes. So what did you have for that?
I was trying to be funny. Logan spun, and I was like, "Yeah, he would." After I said he got to
right after you compliment him.
I hate it. God. So I did have. I just don't want to get out of order or anything. But one of the things that I did note was the tire situation. You know, Lance Stroll put on the mediums.
Yeah,
has the radio message. Says, I don't think it's time.
It's too early. Yeah. So basically, to start this session, we're still not ready for slicks, but everybody's on inters and setting lap times, and then the Aston pit wall decides that they want to try to go on slicks to improve, Lance's time. Unfortunately, he hit a wall.
He knew fast. He knew quick. He knew it wasn't the time.
He said it wasn't time. I mean, like, not enough of the track was dry enough. And also the interesting thing about this situation was that the FIA never officially declared this session wet. So basically, Stroll couldn't be put on softs, which would have been more grippy of a tire than the mediums that they did put him on. And basically, they had to follow the rules. So since this was a shoot quali session 2, this was medium. So if this was a dry session, they would all be on medium tires. So that's why they weren't able to pick and choose what slicks that they were going to be on. Yeah. So yeah, it's just like a combination of bad strategy.
To add a little bit to that is just that when it is a wet strategy, all that means is that you can use whatever tire. When it is a wet track, you can use any tire that you want.
Yeah. So yeah. I thought Alex Albon's comment about that was kind of funny because he's like, I basically didn't expect anyone to do mediums. And I just feel
these madmen, these crazy people.
Yeah, because the last time that he did something like that, like, it actually worked out in his favor. So I do think it's kind of funny that he was the one that was like, even I wouldn't have done that, So
if I'm the teams that hang around Albon, and by that I mean like the field area where Albon is, I follow him. I'm like, Albon pitted. Album got what?
Whatever he does, I'm gonna do that too.
Just copy paste that for me, please. Okay, thank you.
Period. Basically. So that's pretty much it for that session. You had Ricardo at the top of the timesheet at one point. Norris was up there. You had that nasty spin by Logan, the brief yellow flag. Then you had Russell get lucky again, basically on the cusp of elimination. for the second time in 2 sessions.
And then
so
the medium tire fiasco of Stroll is what
didn't work
really
out.
canceled the session for
Yeah,
drivers that didn't have any
Mhm.
time, which one of those is Fernando Alonso.
Yeah, that was crazy. He because of this crash into the wall, all the 5 people that got eliminated weren't able to improve their times. So
once again, with Alonso, phone call from inside the house.
I just think it's interesting that of the 2 Aston drivers that they were like, let's experiment with mediums, that they chose Lance and not Alonso. So I don't know if, Lance's team were just trying to be like spicy and do something adventurous. I don't know. Or if this was I don't know.
Maybe Fernando said no.
Yeah, maybe because he has some brain cells and common sense, but
yeah. That strategy of staying inside the pits and just waiting.
Yeah.
I'd say I don't love it, but at the same time, I like that it is a way for teams that don't do as well sometimes to get a chance to be risky and get in there.
True.
But this screwed over so many people, many of those attempts.
Yep.
But I was obviously, I saw Alonso being screwed over by this, and I'm like, huh, world champion material, Stroll.
Right.
Maybe we need to talk to him still. But there's something to say about the fact that Lance Stroll knew for a fact, and he did right after he got the mediums.
Yeah.
He had it on board. He said, he cursed, said that it's still not ready.
Yeah.
Still not the time. But then he goes on and tries to put it, tries to do something with it.
Yeah.
So I don't blame him or think it's oh, this is on him for hitting the
there
barrier.
was no time to get different tires. Once you
he
commit
did
to the
best
mediums,
he
you
could
had
with
to
what
commit.
he had.
Yeah.
So there is something to that. It's just unfortunate they started so early with those.
Yeah.
Yeah. Moving on, we have SQ3. Now this is where we had enough dry track where we had softs all around.
Yeah.
Did we see any? I want to say, because man, do I talk shit on my boy? I'm happy that Checo is doing what he's supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
This weekend.
Yeah.
But when he put that lap on and he dodged all that traffic, and the camera work was very good, I was like, damn.
That was good.
That is me on a video game on very, very, very easy. That was so cool.
There was 2 or 3 cars that he was weaving in between, and he still topped the timesheet. That was crazy. Yeah.
That was very cool to see.
Good for you, Checo. Thank you for entertaining us for once. Yes. And like you said, this was a soft session. Everybody was on slicks. We had Leclerc, Norris, and Hamilton top the timesheet to start. Max at first couldn't match the time, so he kind of went P2. I believe it was Lewis was the last person to go P1, then Verstappen went P2.
Yeah.
You had lots of traffic because this is a much shorter session again, and the 2-minute laps that everybody's doing just really eats into the amount of time that they have. So not a ton of laps to talk about, but I feel like the last few, the last lap that everybody did, marked by the Perez lap, was pretty cool. Was a bit more exciting. Yeah. Leclerc he made a mistake at the no-name corner, which cost him a shit ton of time. So he wasn't able to make pole. You had Gasly and Sainz on the top of the timesheet at some point. You had Verstappen barely making it to do a final lap. I think he had 2 seconds left to cross the line before his session would have ended. But on the flip side, Nico Hülkenberg missed that by 2 seconds.
By 2 seconds.
He wasn't able to put in any lap for Q3.
Yeah.
So it was just crazy. So it was just a lot going on. My favorite part of that session actually was that Piastri out-qualified Norris again, and he missed pole by 11 milliseconds. Obviously, Max got pole, but Piastri was right up there with him. So, and then we had some fun situations with the Mercedes team. I got a little confused at first because Lewis ended up in P7. And I was like, where'd this pace go? Because, he's been putting it in P2, P1 throughout the session. And then we get the replay and see that him and George had a little kerfuffle on the track. Apparently this is
kerfuffle, you say?
Kerfuffle, yeah. George basically impeded Lewis. And so what happened was, I guess there was some sort of miscommunication with the Mercedes teams where both...
Not this team.
Right. Not who, us, what? But basically there was something where George and Lewis were not aware of how much time they had left. So George's kind of explanation is that he was just trying to rush to get over the line so he could do his next lap. But the thing is, Lewis was out in front of him. So it was supposed to go Lewis, then George, but George jumped the queue. So he gets in front of Lewis. He goes up the straight, does a lockup basically, and automatically like ruins his lap. But instead of aborting, he goes ahead, gets ahead of Lewis. Lewis is getting a tow. So I think Lewis is like, okay, well, I guess, he would abort that. And then he's just giving me a tow. But then it becomes evident that George is not really doing that. So at the end of the day, it really fucked over Lewis's lap. Also, he wasn't able to improve his time. Like P7 was the best that he could do. And he really felt like, in his words, he was capable of being P1 or P2 for that session. So a little bit of a bitter pill, yeah.
While, because you mentioned the toe there, and then I was watching on F1 TV, Julian Palmer, who I'll say has gotten a lot better at commentary. I found him a little annoying, or he's improving, but he also thought it was a toe. Yeah. But the last like 2 or 3 seconds, all he was saying was "Get out of the way, get out of the way, get out of the way."
Right, move over now.
Get out of the way, get out of the way. And I was like, man, if he says it, I feel like, that was.
Yeah. So, I mean, like I said, George can say it was miscommunication up to the point where he locked up and then decided to continue on with this lap that was not going to work anyway. So, yeah. Anyway.
I have a question.
What's your question?
My question is, if George and Lewis had an equivalent car, would George follow team orders?
No.
And be a second driver?
No. I mean, they kind of have equivalent cars anyway. The only difference with these sessions is that Lewis is running the low
equivalent
force
performance.
I feel like Mercedes has kept their cars pretty equivalent. I mean, there's been a couple of times where like somebody gets upgrades first.
I'm sorry. I mean, like, clearly Lewis is doing better than George.
Yeah.
Clearly Lewis, because of, we'll say skill, they have the same, let's say they have the same car and it's because of skill.
Right.
So let's say that George is comparatively the same, just as good as Lewis, never ever. But let's say, but they are in Mercedes. So all we have to factor really is personality.
I would say it was Lewis every time. Lewis focuses on racing and George focuses on Lewis. That's I think my answer to that question.
Asking if George would be capable of being a second driver to that man.
No, never. That's my point, is that he's focused on like, he wants to make himself look good, but instead of improving his performance, his solution to that is to damper Lewis's performances. So I think based off of like just history, I don't see George becoming a second driver on that team. And to be honest, like I said, like I keep saying, it's just like he has to stop talking this whole thing of like, tell Lewis to put his foot down and all this stuff, like these little comments. And it's like, but you're not even able to beat him on pace right now. You know what I mean? And the car is not fighting for championships, right? Like we're not really like there yet with the car. So if they were in that situation, historically speaking, like George is only going to get worse. Do you know what I mean? And there's something to fight for right now. So that's how I feel about George. Like he just needs to stop talking. He can do his own shit and get better. Yeah, it's not necessary. It's just not necessary. So.
And it's like just play your cards right. You could be second for a while. At worst, not at worst, but like I don't know. Like there's clearly a path to George becoming the first driver at Mercedes. It is not today, but there's a path for it, a very clear path. And it's like, I don't think he's going to have the patience for it.
Yeah, you need to be patient. So, but can't tell people anything. So the sprint. So now we're on to the sprint.
So the sprint, we got 10 laps on that sprint.
Yeah.
We had the rolling start with the safety car. And your thoughts on the start or what we saw? I really want to I
feel like it was so pointless. I'm sorry. Like that goes back to my point about being here in Spa, doing this in Spa. We had all this rain, huge delay on the start of the actual sprint race itself, which meant that we didn't even get the full sprint amount of laps. So we're now doing 11 laps. 4 of those laps are behind a safety car with the rolling start. Then everybody has to start on full wet tires, half the grid pits for inters. So, I mean, there's like a little shakeup there at the beginning. Some people decided to just go ahead and risk it and, switch tires right away because the track by this point was not like full wet conditions. So inters made more sense. So some people, went first and got them. Some people stayed out on the wet just to test it out and see how it felt. So, but yeah, it was just like felt very like for me, this is maybe the one sprint where I'm just sort of like, what's the point, with the lack of laps that we have. So, yeah, my note about pit stops for the inters was that they were fucking dreadful. 5.2 for Lewis. Of course, we always, it gets worse. I thought 2.8 was bad, 3.2 is bad, but a 5.2 in a sprint race.
Hold my beer, Tasha.
Like,
you said 2. What is bad? Nah, look at this.
You're right. Hold my beer. So that was fun. But with the pit kind of like mix up, it did kind of pay off for Oscar, who decided to go in for inters because he was P2 when at the start. So he went on for inters. Max stayed out on the wet. So he had a whole lap basically to wait. And then when Max went in, he was now the leader of the race. So that strategy did work out for him and for actually everybody who ended up going on to inters first, because everybody eventually then went in for inters as well. And that mixed up the grid again. So
Lando was 8th at this moment.
Yeah.
That's my note.
Love that. Then we had Alonso. Happy birthday, by the way.
Yeah, 42.
Yeah, into the wall.
Yeah.
So we got our safety car. So we did a total of 3 laps or 4 laps.
It was in the 4th lap that Alonso slides into the barriers.
I'm like, what is going on? So slid into the wall and then safety car deployed.
I think he just wanted to start celebrating early.
Yeah. I see that.
It's if one were to find Alonso's misfortunes funny, I would find that the sprint qualifying was ended by his teammate, and then he found the barrier himself, and that's I got a chuckle out of that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say something, and
oh Lord,
I apologize in advance. There was a moment, and this is not the radio that you think I'm going to talk about, but there was a moment on the radio where GP tells Max that Oscar is struggling with his rear tires, and I found very cool or very as objectively as an athlete being behind another athlete and being told information of the athlete in front of them.
Right.
I found that the second athlete saying, I'm not surprised. He's sliding all around.
Yeah.
Was a really cool response to because everybody hears that. So like if that isn't some Jaws theme music playing on your radio, like I'm coming for you.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely.
I think that was pretty cool.
And you also have the safety car restart. So Piastri was leading at this point. He didn't really select a good part of the track to kind of restart the race. So Max was super close to him he was neck and neck with this kid at some point. And it didn't take long for him to overtake him. So that was a really short-lived,
What a fun world we lived in.
But still, I thought it was, again,
it's still super impressive.
Rookie Piastri, has the composure to make these decisions. And, I think with more experience, he'll get better. I think there's no question in that. So, but still, you're under pressure from Max. This is now the second, maybe third. This is the third time, I think, he's been near Max in a race. And so to lead this as a rookie, I feel like, that just says a lot. I think he's just doing a really great job. So
to add to that, no crashes. All these fights.
Yeah.
Well, no. When he's fighting, you're
talking about Oscar. I was like, I thought you meant the session.
No. I was talking about to everything you said is absolutely right about Oscar, and I agree.
Yes.
And to add to that,
also
he's been in those close fights, and he hasn't been in a crash. He hasn't acted a fool.
Right.
Even Max, many times he's in fights, doesn't know, doesn't choose the right option, crashes onto somebody.
Yeah.
Shows a lot of maturity for Oscar, and big balls, like he said.
Big balls.
Lap 6 comes around on the sprint, and we have Checo fighting with Hamilton, or Hamilton fighting with Checo.
Yeah.
Do you want to mention now the FIA conclusion with Hamilton?
Yeah, I think most people looked at this and said it was a racing incident. I
Hmm.
typically I look forward to Checo Lewis duels because I feel like they're usually really
More than Max and him.
respectful. Yeah, I feel like they are really
Yeah.
good at it and really respectful of each other.
Hmm.
This just one time they kind of actually did come together. Lewis, there was a big chunk of Checo's side pods basically missing after this they came together. But, I guess the FAA decided that this was fully Lewis's fault. Checo's on the
Yeah.
outside, Lewis is on the inside. To me, it looked like they just came together, like more on the airing more on the side of like Checo kind of squeezing Lewis. But whatever, they came together. FIA awarded Lewis with a 5-second time penalty
It's
during the
funny they call
race.
it awarded.
Yeah, they're like, here you go, enjoy. Yeah, here's your award. Go
Here's
fuck
your
yourself,
penalty.
basically. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then to add insult to injury, Lewis also ended up getting 2 penalty points added to his license. So that's kind
Yeah.
of whack, I feel like. That's just
I
kind of
agree.
excessive.
I agree with you with
Yeah.
like the it looked like
Hmm.
a unfortunate thing that had, like, I'm not saying Lewis didn't do anything, but to me it looked like an unfortunate racing
Incident.
like incident, like a unfortunate racing incident that
Right.
I think both drivers had to do with, and I think like I thought it would have been just let go, just because both, or not, even if not let go, I thought that both of them would be reprimanded.
Right.
I didn't see a world where just Lewis was going to be like reprimanded for this thing. Like
Right.
that seems so rare, not rare,
Yeah.
so weird, so unnecessary, maybe even. It was wet.
Yeah.
Checo had just said on the radio, if not a little bit before, then a little bit after, I have no rear grip. So it's not like Lewis just came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And there were so many things happening. I would have just let it go.
Yeah. So Martin Brundle agrees with you. He said, I think it was a
Yes,
racing
Martin.
incident.
Yes.
I think it was a harsh penalty, and I stand by that. What is racing? If that's not racing, then I don't know. It wasn't like Lewis was launching himself at Perez. He also adds, Lewis can't just disappear. That's his corner. So,
Vibes of it gives
when Sky
it gives
F1
Red Bull.
pundits are saying that, free our man Lewis, like,
Yeah.
you're doing too much. So.
It gives Red Bull calling FIA and being like, he retired my driver, which is not true. He retired himself because he had no grip. But it gives Red Bull calling like, what are you gonna do to him? He retired my driver.
Yeah. So yeah. And basically then that all ends the race after Checo gets that retires. Basically the race kind of comes to a conclusion. Verstappen wins. Oscar gets a podium, and Gasly also gets a podium. So interesting top 3.
Yeah, I had a quick note about the top 3. I really liked. We are going to sound like a broken record player, but let's be honest. What Oscar is doing is worth talking about. The first thing that Oscar did when he got out of his car was go to Max's car and inspect the tires, and that is this guy.
Details.
Is doing the right things.
Yeah.
Is doing the right things.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Lando do anything but go celebrate right after he gets his podium. Also, as a person that speaks 2 languages, for some reason I was really curious when Gasly was celebrating his 3rd place. Like, he celebrates in English, and it was just interesting to me because I guess he speaks more English than French at this point, because to me, I celebrate in English sometimes as well, but it was just interesting to me that he wouldn't like pop up in French in his French team.
Right, on his French team, yeah.
Yeah. And then the other results that I had that to me were, and to us were interesting as well, as Yuki ended up 18th while Danny got to 10th. No points though, because it's top 8,
right.
But still 10 to 18 is quite a margin.
Yeah. Interesting 11 laps that we had there.
And now we do it all again. Let's talk about qualifying. No, the sprint. I think we've said our opinions, and I agree 100%. It doesn't need to be Spa. What more proof do we need? Or change the date when it's not raining all the time. But at least the crowd looked really into it, even when it was raining. And it looked pretty good.
Yeah.
But for now, we will take a quick break and then go into qualifying, race predictions, etc. Just as a quick reminder, You can find us on Twitter and let us know when you have any predictions for the race. We're going to read those a little bit later. If you're just listening on Spotify, make sure, if you want to go on Twitter or you want to go on YouTube and just share your opinion or let us know or ask any questions, it'll be great to go through that. But thanks for still being with us, and we'll be right back. And we're back. All right. So we just went through sprint qualifying. We went through a sprint shootout, and now we're basically doing it again. But remember, sprint is over with. Now we're talking about what's going to happen tomorrow. So we're going to go through Q1, Q2, Q3, and things that we saw during it. So we'll start right off with Q1, and I'll not interrupt you and say from the start that for Q1, we lost Alex Albon, Zhou Guanyu, Logan Sargent, Danny Rick, and Nico Hulkenberg.
Yeah.
Thoughts on what you saw?
Yeah. I mean, so the rain, again, big factor. We start early. I'm happy with the Mercedes strategy. They basically decided to line up early. They're the top two in the pit lane to start the session. But everybody has on inters, and potentially rain is on the way. So, another threat of rain. That kind of leads us into the session. I said things like Sainz and Magnussen's had track times deleted. That kind of comes into play a little bit later. We have Norris, Piastri, Lewis, and George on top of the timesheet on inters. And I thought that the McLarens and especially the Ferraris looked really strong on Friday. This is for Friday's session. So this is the first time we're really seeing everybody out on track. And I just thought, these guys look really strong. Kind of a continuation from last week where we left off. So, then we had some damage potentially for Norris. He drove through some gravel.
I was going to say, McLaren,
yeah,
for sure.
McLaren
had a great day.
Yeah, Piastri's been having a great weekend. This just to start with, off the top. So it's kind of been Norris that's been behind the ball a little bit this weekend, and so he had a little bit of a little spin through the gravel, and it definitely impacted his car because I didn't feel like he was able to really recover that strongly, but. Then some surprises. You had Yuki and Valtteri got through Q1. They were safe. And then poor Daniel Ricciardo, he put in a really good lap. His final lap was got him into P6, but then his track limit violations got that time deleted. So
he was very honest later and said that the moment he took that curve the way he took it, he knew that it was not going to work, that it was going to be a track time deleted. And and then you mentioned Yuki, you mentioned Danny Rick. This is actually the first time Yuki ever in Formula One career out-qualifies Daniel Ricciardo.
Dang.
Yes.
Celebration. Yeah. So, that was a, pretty standard session. I feel like. Then we go into Q2.
Wait, is Q1, am I incorrect, or was it Q1 where George Russell had, and you already mentioned earlier, but it wasn't in Q1 that George Russell told Lewis to put his foot down? I think it was Q1.
You're right.
Good job, George.
Yeah,
Good
thanks,
job.
George.
I'm not going to say how we talk about how you open your mouth and then get bad results every single podcast. I'm not going to talk about that. Do you want to add something to that?
No, I mean, I just thought that was a nice little encouraging message because when he said, tell Lewis to get a move on, Lewis went P1, he went P3. So,
take the advice you're giving, maybe.
Turn that inward. Do you know what I'm saying? Just take your own advice. So anyway, moving on.
So we go into Q2 for Q2, and then I'm going from 11th to 15th. Q2, we lost Yuki, we lost Gasly, Kevin Magnussen, Valtteri, and Ocon. This is where everybody started in intermediates.
Yeah.
And then what do you think about this session?
Well, so like you said, started on inters, but slicks were felt imminent. Everybody was sort of discussing when we should move to inters. Bottas was the first one. He put on softs first and got the kind of ball rolling. And I mean, obviously right away, it didn't look like they were, they just needed a bit more time to come up to temperature. And obviously there were some parts of the track that were still a little bit slippery. Yeah. So it didn't look that great at first. And, again, they go again. So you had Stroll who put on inters so as everybody's moving to slicks, Stroll goes for inters and just kind of wastes a bunch of time changing off this tire that essentially isn't that fast. But, I think he ends up, Yeah, it's just a weird tire strategy for them this weekend, you know?
It was. It really was. It really was.
Yeah.
Oh, it really was.
Like off by just a little bit. Like the timing is off like just a little bit. Then we had Esty Bestie. He hit a wall and damaged his front wing.
Did you see him while driving?
Like
the front wing dragging in front of him.
Just dragging that shit down the track. So yeah, at least he got back into the pit. I mean, and it wasn't like terribly a ton of damage, but yeah, it was, you know, it is what it is. And then I got toward the end. My note for the end was like, this is insane. The, you know, track evolution is crazy. And I mean, really, it was just like times were falling like left and right. And this is the part of Q1 that I really enjoy, the like last few moments, because, you know, you really are like kind of nail biting. Like, is my fave gonna make it through? Like, who's getting, you know, like who's getting eliminated? So,
and Hamilton is always Hamilton has been so dramatic recently in Q1 and Q2 that it is typically a pretty exciting. Those moments are pretty insane.
Yeah. And I feel like an insane moment that we had with this session was actually we almost lost Max. I don't know what happened. He was kind of fussing at his engineer later on afterward. But essentially he was in P10 and he was at risk for getting knocked out. We were hoping that like Gasly or somebody could like come and just like, you know, knock him down the list a little bit, because that would have been kind of fun to see him start out of the top 10.
Because you mentioned Gasly, but it's specific because like Gasly had the opportunity. Like that last lap that Gasly had was no traffic. He had the perfect chance, but he couldn't get any more time from it. Max did get a lap deleted during Q2, so that played into him being 10th. I call that plot armor. That's what kept him inside the top 10, because nothing else could have. Like I remarkable. Right. But I don't know what to call it. That's so lucky. I don't know how many more notes I'm going to have for Oscar, but God, dude. Like, to me, it's just, I've been harping on this, but really quickly, to me, it's the fact that even before the car wasn't good, it was always Lando, Oscar below,
really close to each other.
And it's literally progressed where it's closer, farther. Like, if you keep going with the trend, it's literally just going to be Oscar leaving Lando in the dirt, and that would be insane on his first season. That'd be.
Imagine he wins a race before. You know, let me not say anything. I don't want to jinx anything. No, because when I say things about F1, I start jinxing shit. So I'm just gonna keep it in the. You guys know what I'm putting down.
So we move on to Q3, and you had a great note to summarize the people that got it, the drivers that got into Q3.
Did I?
Yeah. Which teams got into Q3?
Yes, you're right. So basically, it was the 5 fastest teams all made it to Q3. So you know, expectations, like there wasn't really any surprises. Like every pair from the top 5 teams all made it. Again, Ferrari, McLaren look really fast, trading top times for a provisional pole at this point. And then in Q3 at this point, both Mercedes kind of look off the pace so far. And they also are having issues again with like timing these laps. They barely got out in time for their final laps, which, you know, another heart attack inducing like session for me. But in the end, everybody made it through. So my notes about these, the end of quali was Piastri out qualifies Lando by 0.3. Hamilton out qualifies Russell by around 0.8. And then I said, the good news is Checo made it into Q3. The bad news is his mid-driver tendencies came with him. He was around 0.9 behind Max, like almost an entire second off of Max. Like, you did all of that to get into Q3 for your teammate to be almost a full second ahead. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. Same thing with George. The whole Tolo's put his foot down, and now you're 0.8 slower. Like, you know what I mean? Like, can we start performing? Do you know what I mean? Like, can we start?
And don't come to us with like, yeah, but they finish X, they finish Y during the race.
I don't care. Yeah.
The race, okay, good for them. But this is also part of racing, and this is also part of the weekend.
Exactly.
And this is also a time that they should get their shit together.
Exactly.
So while they're doing well at finishing, they have much to improve during other times.
Did you see this meme that ESPN F1 posted about Checo where they were like, he's gained 40 positions in the last 5 races? And it's like, I don't think that stat is doing what you think it's doing. Like, he should never be in that position to be needing to gain 40 positions in like one of the fastest cars on the grid. So like, this is what we're talking about with Checo. It's not that like, you know, we are trying to like unnecessarily like hate on him or whatever the circumstances, but like there is just like a level of expectation he should have for himself and that we are allowed to have also watching this as fans, being in a car that dominant. And like, there's no need for you to be making up spaces, like 40 places in a span of 5 races, because you can't get into Q3. Like, that's what we're talking about here. Yeah.
I am super bummed out that Checo is not in the running for driver of the day.
Yeah.
That's a shame.
No recovery drive today. Well, no. We don't know.
And to be clear,
we don't know.
To be super clear, because this is the argument sometimes, we would never say that our expectation is for Checo to beat Max. That's not what we're saying. We are saying a driver has the best car in his hands. You should be top 3 all the time.
Yeah. And 2, to be quite honest. Like,
it's top 3 is nice. Top 3 is being nice. You're absolutely right.
Like,
so to round out, we're going to go through just the starting grid. Remember that Max Verstappen has that 5-second grid penalty. So we've got Charles Leclerc at first, then Checo, then Lewis, Carlos Sainz, Oscar, Max Verstappen, Lando Norris, George Russell, Alonso, and Stroll. That is your starting 10 for the grid tomorrow. I heard that, and this is apparently super common, that this is a very good track to start second, not first. So we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, we'll speaking of tomorrow, thank you very much to everybody who sent us a reply to Tasha's tweet and to our questions. We really appreciate that. Keep those coming. We'll make sure to read those on every episode. So we are going to read out some of those. Tasha, I think you have the first one.
Yeah. I'm going to start with Pete. And they said their podium prediction for Sunday is going to be P1 Verstappen, P2 Hamilton, P3 Piastri. I'm excited about that. Piastri P3?
Nah, that's too below where I want him.
P1 for you. Yeah.
Where my heart wants him. Next up, I'm gonna read this 2 ways because I'm not gonna assume. We have Julian Aguilera or Julian Aguilera. Julian said Verstappen, Perez, and Hamilton for his top 3. Then, and I'm only gonna read this because he put in the work to do it. But my guy, follow instructions next time, okay? I'm just messing with you. But he gave us his top 10 as the 3 that I said: Leclerc, Piastri, Norris, Russell, Sainz, Alonso, and Gasly. So I like that top 10. The only reason I'm going to read it this time is because if you get that perfectly right, go you.
Yeah.
Go you.
An oracle. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. And then the last one is from Maguita. She says, Lewis Hamilton podium is possible, and that's all that matters. Maybe he'll bully Checo again for good measure. I agree.
Why not?
I hope that happens. Why not? Yeah. In that washing machine, he was bullying the man around like, oh my God. The fact that fucking car took a whole chunk out of the Red Bull, I'm like, yo, like, this is a tank. This is clearly like a weapon. So yeah. A weapon. This is a weapon.
That is not how you should use that. Anyways.
Right. But yeah, so what about you? What are your predictions?
Agree? No. You said you agree, so you're going in the pool first.
Oh, okay.
What are your predictions?
I want to do something like interesting. Yeah. I don't know. Well, not really. I want to do the same thing I always do. I'm going to say Max, Lewis. I really do like Piastri. I don't know that Checo is going to keep that podium, and I don't know why. It's just my gut's telling me this. So I don't know. Maybe Norris. Maybe something interesting. That's what I'm hoping for.
What do you think about the Yuki and Danny situation? We've got Yuki at 11th. We've got Danny all the way down to 19th. Think Yuki wins this one?
Yeah, I think he'll win this one, especially if it ends up being wet at all at any point. I feel like maybe Yuki has a bit more of an edge in that sense, just because again, he's been driving this car a little bit longer. But yeah, I think that's where I'll. Yeah,
I think so too. One thing that I'm also. my prediction.
Yeah.
This is absolutely a want. I should say it's so shitty that I can't realistically put Max anywhere but first.
Yeah.
Because me right now, I want to say like give me Piastri, Hamilton, and like I gotta put Verstappen there. But
Right.
even putting
Taking up
Verstappen
a
in
free
third,
space. Yeah.
even putting Verstappen in third is like Mario. Just be real, man.
Right.
I really wish that either Hamilton or Piastri win this race. That would make me super happy.
Yeah,
if they make the
fun.
podium, cool. But like Hamilton or Piastri, I don't know why I really want it
Yeah.
for them this weekend.
Yeah, I agree.
And to add something different than the usual, I'm interested in seeing if Gasly can keep the momentum that he got from the win today. Starts at 12 tomorrow. I think he does get that momentum and gets it at least in the points.
Okay. I think that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's fair.
With this marathon, so many things happening this weekend. With this marathon finally over,
Right.
I have been Mario. You can find me on Instagram, on Twitter. I will never call it the other thing. And on Threads at Mario_APM. And I also want to add that Chris is editing and making this look a lot better. And you can find him and Tasha, correct me if I'm wrong, it's Trip C or just Trip? It's Trip C with 2 P's.
Yeah, with 2 P's.
On Instagram, Twitter, Instagram and Twitter. Yeah. Tasha, what the people really care about, where can they find you?
You can find me at Twitter, Threads, and Instagram, all at Tasha.
Such a great one.
So simple.
That's why Tyler the Creator uses T, is because you gave him permission.
I have my little T pendant on too. So it's funny you said that, because that's my necklace for today. It's okay.
Cool.
Petite little T.
Well, thank you to all for listening. If you're still with us, make sure to like, subscribe, download, do all of those cool things to help us get to more years.
Yeah.
But we truly appreciate every single one of you. Thank you very much. Tasha, would you please take us away?
Yes, guys, no matter what happens, please remember, keep it on the black stuff. Bye.
Peace.
Look, mate, if you've got this far, clearly you like what we do. So here's a link to subscribe to the Quickstop F1 family. Give that a click. And here's another link to some more cool on our channel. Sorry, cool stuff. And remember, no matter what happens, keep it on the black stuff. Click the stuff. Click the links. Click the links. Click the links. There. They're there.